And today we will go over anxiety. Actually, we will talk about courage. And then I have a short presentation, but I will show the presentation in a few minutes. We won't talk about the presentation right now. I want to know how many are here. Oh, there are a few. I was thinking maybe everyone introducing themselves, but it might take too long, so we won't. So one of the things that right now that we're all dealing with is a lot of anxiety. And the reason why I really wanted to talk about courage is because now more so than ever, we need courage. And in the Brahma Kumaris, we have a saying, if you take one step of courage, God will give you 1,000 steps of help. And I remember in my life, I went through many ups and downs, and one time, many ups and downs, but this is one time where I had cancer. And I had very low energy, and I didn't want to do anything. I especially was not wanting to get up in the morning to meditate and all of those things because of low energy, and I was very tired all the time. And I used to think about this a lot, this particular phrase a lot. If I take one step of courage, God will give me 1,000 steps of help. And so many days I couldn't take that one step of courage, but I used to tell myself, if I take half a step of courage, I will get 500 steps of help. And then if even half a step was not possible, then I used to say, but even if I take quarter step of courage, I will get 250 steps of help. And so I used to get up.
Raise the volume, please. Can you raise the volume?
Can barely hear.
Really?
Yes, please.
Can you hear better now?
Little more, please.
Okay, hold on one second. I don't know what's going on.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
We can hear you clearly, sister. It's loud enough.
Okay.
Om Shanti Didi, what time did you start the class? Didi, what time did you start the class?
Like 2 minutes ago.
Ah, okay. Because we didn't hear, so you think you can repeat?
Okay, all right. So just 2 minutes ago. But can you hear now? Can you hear better now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Slightly better.
Okay.
Yes.
So, like I was saying, so I was sharing how this phrase, today's topic is a courageous response to anxiety. And I've been thinking more about courage. I will get to anxiety in a bit, but I'm thinking about courage here. And there is a phrase within the Brahma Kumaris which says that if we take one step of courage, we will get 1,000 steps of help from God. And so in my life, I had many challenges and many ups and downs and things like that. And there was this one time when I had cancer, I would have very low energy and I wouldn't want to get up in the morning for meditation or do my spiritual practice in the morning, especially because it was very tiring. And I used to talk to myself about this particular phrase a lot. I used to say that if I take one step of courage, I will get 1,000 of help. If I take, can all of you mute yourself, please? If I take half a step of courage, I will get 500 steps of help. And if I take 1/4 step of courage, then I will get 250 steps of help. And the most important thing is if I don't take any step of courage, then I will not get any help. And so that used to motivate me from getting up. And I can assure you, this is my personal experience, and I'll give you a guarantee that courage gets rewarded. Especially courage gets rewarded by God, a higher power, supreme soul, however you want to associate with divine energy. And so it definitely gets rewarded. And so right now, we really need to think about courage and how we can use our courage to be able to tackle anxiety. And so one of the things we have to remember about courage is that we all have courage. You know, some people might think, oh, but I don't have courage. But I feel we all have courage. Some people might, it's all inside, no? Courage is there. It's an intrinsic quality of the soul. And some people, you know, we might show it in our actions 10%, and some people might show it in actions 90%. So, you know, depending on where we are, right? But we shouldn't ever think we don't have courage. We should always think there is courage inside. How much of is it showing in externally? How much of is it is showing in my life, right? And so one of the things we have to accept, and this is some kind of mental gymnastics you have to do, where you have to really talk to yourself, is yes, I have courage. And this courage is what is going to, I need to strengthen this courage. So we all have courage. It's not that I have courage and you don't have courage. We all have courage. It's just that some of us show it more and some of us don't show it as much. And so one of the things we have to do is accept. And you know, the Hindi word that we use for, which gets translated as faith, but it's actually, the word we use is nischay. And nischay, actually, if you go to the Sanskrit root, which nischay comes from Sanskrit into Hindi. You know, Hindi as a language has two strands. The strand that comes from Sanskrit and the strand that comes from Urdu. And so nischay is definitely a word that comes from Sanskrit. And so nischay actually means conviction in Sanskrit. And so, and many of the Indian languages, which is one of the, my mother tongue is one of the Indian languages, and we use nischay a lot, but we use it, the Sanskrit word for nischay, which is conviction. And so faith is not just for people, you know, we might think, oh, faith is for just people like Mother Teresa or Nelson Mandela or someone like that. But faith is for all of us. And if you look at the word and you look at, instead of faith, you look at the word as nischay, which is a conviction. And so conviction is you are actively making a decision. And so courage really is a decision. So courage is a conviction. And this courage, the reason why I'm saying that courage is a conviction and courage is a decision is it's totally in your hands. You can increase it or decrease it. And so if you increase it, you will really have untold benefit in your life. And if you choose to just, so we all have courage, right? So let's say some of us are operating at 10% courage and maximum courage is 100% and we're operating at 10% courage. If we choose to operate at 10% courage, this is what happens. This is our life, right? But I want you to think of increasing your courage even till 20%, 25%, like that. And I will do a presentation and I'll go over how I want you to increase your courage. But I want you to remember that courage is a nischay. It is a conviction. It is a decision that you can make. And you have to take personal responsibility for this decision, for conviction, for this courage to increase your courage in your life. And so how do you define courage? And I can tell you how I define courage. So courage is you fall down, you get up and keep going. You fall down, you get up. You fall down, you get up. So that is one aspect of courage, where you keep getting up. You don't ever give up. That is one aspect of courage. The second aspect of courage is you have a goal, you have an aim, and you actively go towards that aim, right? And so this is where one step of courage and 1,000 steps of help comes. And so let's take the most common anxiety right now is COVID, right? And, whatever the ill effects if I get COVID, or what's going to happen to my job, or whatever. And so how does courage play out in this particular case is that I have to have the courage not to worry. I have to have the courage not to have doubts. And I outlined 4 areas of anxiety that happens. And so I have to have courage to not to give into doubt, to fear, to, resistant, whatever is happening, not resistant, not resisted, and all of those things. And so if I have courage in these things, then that is how my aim. So now you have to decide what your aim is. Aim is that I'm going to go through, let's say, not your whole life. Let's take even the next 6 months. In the next 6 months, I will not have a doubt, I won't resist, and I won't have fear. Let's take 3 things. And now I have to take a step. I have to take a step towards this aim. And what is the step and all of that? We will get into the presentation, but I have to take a step. And so I want you to challenge God and see, if I take this step, how much help will I get? And I was sharing with you that I guarantee you that if you take a full step, you will get 1,000-fold help, because it has happened in my life, and I can guarantee you, it's money back guarantee, by the way. So I can guarantee you it's going to happen. And so one of the things we have to remember about anxiety is that I'm going to do the screen share now, is that anxiety is a paper tiger. Hold on. Can you see? Yes. Can you see?
Yes. Yes.
So anxiety is like a paper tiger. And what we mean by that, a paper tiger. A paper tiger is when you look far away, if a tiger is made of cardboard and it's way in the distance, and you look at it and you think, oh my God, that's a real tiger, and you get very scared. And so when you have courage and you keep going towards the tiger, you realize that that tiger is not real. It is just a paper tiger. And so, sorry, I have a mosquito here. And so, So one of the things that you have to understand about anxiety is that it's a paper tiger. And look at it as a paper tiger. It's not real. You keep going towards it, have courage, keep going towards it, face whatever you need to face, and you will realize that, yes, it is a paper tiger. But you can only realize it's a paper tiger if you have the courage and go towards it. You won't realize it's a paper tiger if you don't do that. And so that is one of the things we have to understand, is we have to have courage to go towards it. So now, there are 4 sources of anxiety: fear, doubt, resistance, and relationships. So all of these, fear, doubt, resistance, relationships, all of these cause anxiety for us. In the case of, I was talking about COVID, we either have fear or we either have resistance. And that is why there is so much anxiety. And then we'll get into it in a minute. And so fear. And there's several kinds of fear. It's not just COVID, but we have several kinds of fear. We have fear of loss. We have fear of aging. We have fear of unknown. We have fear of future. And many, many times we fear our own self, our own thoughts. I've noticed that many people don't want to sit quietly and see what they're thinking or what's going on inside, because they fear what is inside. They fear what is happening inside. And also we have fear of authority and fear of losing the body in the case of COVID and stuff. And so we have all of these fear. But one of the things I've noticed is all fear is because of insecurity. And this insecurity is because we have fear that we will lose something. It is always endings, you know? What we fear the most is endings, whether it is ending of the body, whether it is ending of my job, whether it is ending of relationship. So what we fear most is endings. And so, you know what popularly they say about fear, right? It's false evidence appearing real. And so endings, so we have to really understand endings to understand fear. And so one of the things we have to understand about endings is that everything we see with these eyes is going to end. No one, absolutely no one, is getting out of here alive. Do you know anyone who got out of here alive? No. So no one is getting out of the planet alive. And so endings will happen, right? So we have to understand endings. So whether it's relationships, whether it's marriage, at some point it's going to end. When one of the partners dies or whatever, it's going to end. And, you know, it is inevitable. Endings are inevitable. And so what happens is, if I hang my hat on something that is constantly changing, constantly ending, right? If I hang my hat on something that is constantly changing, constantly, you know, going to end at some point, and if I do my emotional investment, I have attachment. I'm not talking about love here. I'm talking about attachment. If I have attachment, if I have all of those things going on, what happens is I invariably will have fear, because I am not understanding endings. I'm not understanding the cosmic play. So the cosmic play, in the Brahma Kumaris, we call this the drama. The cosmic play, there is a drama, right? There's a whole drama going on. And in the cosmic play, things will always change. absolutely always things will change. And there are three things, but today we will talk about two. There are only two things that are not going to change. One that doesn't change is the soul. I, as a spiritual being, will always be. This body might not be, but I, as a spiritual being, will always be. That is one that doesn't, end. Spiritual beings don't end. Souls don't end. Atmas don't end. And the other one that is never changes is the Supreme Soul. But the body getting older, everything about the body, everything about the relationships of the body, everything about a job, everything that you can physically see is going to end. And so that is something we have to take into account. And this is something we have to reflect on a lot. That is, what is eternal in my life? When you start reflecting on what is eternal in my life, then you will come closer to losing your fear. Eventually, when you experience eternity, which can only happen once you start reflecting, then you experience eternity, and then you will lose all fear. And so the other aspect that we need to understand to be able to overcome fear is this: nothing is mine. Absolutely nothing is mine. I am a soul, and this is my body, and I have relationships, and I live in this world, but nothing belongs to me. Nothing is mine. Because what happens is, and so to just briefly give you, and I'm sure all of you have had the lesson on the soul, right? And so in the soul, we say we are souls, that I am a soul. It's not that I have a soul, but that I am a soul. And that soul is the thinking, feeling being. That soul is the Atma that is eternal, that is immortal, neither is born nor dies. And so that soul, I am that soul that is neither born nor will I die, and I'm eternal. No endings happens to the soul. But I'm in this body, and as a driver, I'm the driver and this body is the vehicle. And this body as a vehicle will always come and go. So I'll have this body. If I'm not having this body, I'll always have some other body, but I will always be, right? And so reincarnation, we believe in reincarnation. So if not this body, some other body. And one of the other things we need to understand about the soul is that the soul has a mind, which you could say is the messenger of the soul. And so we have to distinguish here between mind and the brain. The brain is the engine of the body. And the brain, so if you take a car, right? Let's take a car. The brain would be the engine of the car. And the mind is in the driver of the car. So you see the difference? The engine of the car, the driver of the car. So the engine of the car is physical. So the brain is a physical entity, but I, the driver, I'm a soul, I'm a being of light, and I drive this car. And so within the soul, just like we have organs like eyes to see and nose to smell and ears to hear and stuff like that, the soul also has organs. And one of the organs is the mind, where the mind gives messages. It's the screen of the soul. It's like this computer screen. It's like the screen you're looking at. And so that is the mind, right? It's giving you messages. And then we have intellect, which discerns. And then we have sanskaras or impressions, which we want, if we, depending on how the session goes. We'll get into it or not, but I want to talk about the mind. So the mind is important because the mind is where desires arise, right? And so why is it that we have to say that nothing is mine? First, because nothing is yours. Because once I leave, I have a really fancy computer, a 16-inch Mac or whatever, the latest, right? So as much as I love my computer, as much as I do so much work on it and all of these things, if I think this is mine and I have to leave it, right? First, if I think this is mine and then something happens to it, then my mind goes into upheaval. And then if something happens to it, then I'll feel sad and all of that. And finally, I can't take it with me. When I leave this body and go, I will live, but the computer is not eternal. And so nothing is mine. So I am a soul and I have this body and I have relationships and I live in this world, but nothing is mine. So if the mind says, this is mine, right? If I the soul through my mind said, this is mine, then I also start thinking, because that is the nature of greed, is if I think this is mine, then I think whatever is yours should also be mine. That's just the natural progression of things. Then I start feeling jealous, then I want everything what anyone has. And then I start holding on and I think whatever is mine shouldn't be lost. And so that is how fear starts to develop. These are all the thoughts. These are the progression of thoughts. It's just a natural progression of thoughts that happen. And so the courage we need to overcome fear, the courage we need to overcome fear is that nothing is mine. So I want us to take just 2 minutes right now and create an affirmation for yourself. Create an affirmation. An affirmation is, and I will tell you what I've created for myself. I am a soul and I'm in this body, and everything I see with my eyes is not mine. Nothing is mine. So that is an affirmation. You can use my affirmation or you can create your own. So just take 1 minute now or 2 minutes and create an affirmation. And this affirmation you have to keep repeating to yourself. I'm a soul, I'm in this body, and nothing is mine. Whatever I see with these eyes is not permanent and nothing is mine. Is that good? Just 2 minutes. All right. So everyone got a chance? The other thing that we need to understand about um, the other thing we need to understand about fear is um, if I perform good actions, if my karma is good, then there is no fear. The fear only happens when somehow our karma gets, you could say, like diluted a little bit. I'm not saying we are performing, any of us are performing really bad karmas. We're good people, all of us. I'm not saying that, but our karmas get diluted. Along with good karmas, we perform so not so good karmas. And so that is something we have to really take into account. And that's a very, very big topic, karma. And I'm not going to address this right now because that will require a lot of time, good karma. But I just want you to understand that this, that karma also, if we perform good karma, there are two things I feel we can overcome anxiety and we can overcome fear like this. Is one is we are performing good karmas, and two is we do not dislike anyone. And both are very big topics. They're connected, and some other time, not right now. So I want to go into the next step, which is the next step of, I told you there are four aspects why we have anxiety. Is one is fear, the other is doubt, resistance, and then relationships. And so now let's talk about doubt. And doubt, so remember I was saying nischay in Hindi means conviction. And doubt in Hindi, the word for doubt is sanshay. And so it's very important to understand doubt, because doubts are like, it's like a virus, you know, it just comes and then you don't even know it's there. It's really like this very devious, insidious thing, like the virus that is going around. So the same way, sanshay also is like that. So what is doubt? And I feel doubt is a habit. It's a thought pattern. It's just, it's a habit. It's not a physical habit. It's not like smoking, but it's a habit of how the mind thinks. You know, you have a habitual way of thinking. And recently it has been shown that most people have the same, about 80 to 90% of the thoughts that we have yesterday, we have today. And 80 to 90% of thoughts which were day before yesterday, 1 week ago, we are still carrying, right? We have the same kinds of thoughts. And that is a very important element in our life, because what happens is we are not, if we are thinking the same thing, right? We're thinking the same thing yesterday, we thought the same thing the day before, we thought the same thing 1 week ago, we thought the same thing a month ago. So what is happening is our lives, because 80% or 90% is just rolled over past, same thoughts, our lives are just a recycled version of the past. And so if we are stuck in somewhere or doing something, is because we are having the same kind of thoughts. And these kinds of thoughts, one of these kinds of thoughts is a habitual thought pattern. It's a pattern of thinking, and that is a doubt. And so doubt could be lack of faith in the self. It could be, I've had many failures in life, and so I could have doubt about that. I could have low self-esteem, and I could constantly keep thinking, why did this happen in my life? What did happen? And when we're not sure what will happen, we're not sure, God will support us, and confusion about the way things are going, all of that. So it's a thought pattern. This is like a loop that keeps going on and on and on and on. It's a thought pattern. And I can share with you how doubt happens, right? I can share with you how doubt happens. And so I'll give you an example. Let's take, I have anxiety or I have doubt. So I have doubt, and that is why I have anxiety. Let's say I have low self-esteem, right? Let's say I have failed. I've started several business ventures and I've failed in all those business ventures, and I have low self-esteem. And so there's a pattern, no? I think, oh, but I failed. So next time I want to do something, then I have doubt. Oh, but I failed so many times. What's going to happen? It's not going to work out. I'm no good. And then again, I want to do something. Again, all of those failures come in front of me. And then why did it happen? Maybe that person didn't help me enough. And you start blaming people and all of those things. And so, so really that pattern, no, you keep repeating it again and again and again. And so this kind of doubt, this kind of negative thought patterns really create a lot of, you could say, a lot of anxiety. But even more than that, more than anxiety, it creates a habit that you keep getting sucked into that habit again and again and again and again. And so it's like you're digging a hole, you keep digging a hole and you keep digging a hole, and doubt is like that. And you keep going deeper and deeper into this hole. And so how do you overcome a negative thought pattern, which is doubt is a negative thought pattern? How do you overcome a negative thought pattern? How do you overcome doubt? And so this is how. For me to have like low self-esteem, no, there is no shortcut to low self-esteem. There is no shortcut. It's not like, oh, I can read a book and then suddenly I will have confidence in myself, right? The whole shelves and shelves and shelves, and Amazon must have 1 million books on how to have more self-esteem, right? There's so many books, but all these books, if the books worked, people wouldn't write more books. But anyway, there is no shortcut to low self-esteem. One of the things we have to do is we have to have determination that I will bring about self-transformation. I will take one area, one aspect of my life, and I will transform that. You start just with one, and then you go on to other areas. So I will take one aspect of my life and start with that, right? And so once you know that you can make changes in one aspect of your life, that there's self-transformation in one aspect of your life, that you're moving forward in one aspect of your life, then not only will your lose self-doubt, but others also will start having confidence in you. And it's very, very important that we encourage people around us, that we never use language that says, oh, you can't do it, you know, and never use that language with anyone in our lives, whether it's children, whether it's my spouse or whatever. Don't aggravate their doubt, right? Because it is, what happens is, it's a feedback loop. If I doubt someone, they doubt me, and it just keeps, you know, going back and forth like that. They're doubting, I'm doubting, they're doubting, I'm doubting. We have to stop that. We have to stop that loop, and you have to say, I am not going to doubt anyone. I'm not going to talk about it to anyone, because that's important. And the other thing which is important is this self-transformation. I'm going to pick one area in my life, one thing, and that is something I will bring about transformation, just one small thing. So I want us to take 2 minutes right now and pick one small or big thing that you are going to transform in your life. Sounds good?
Nidhi, can I ask you one question, please?
Yes, I was going to do that after wanted to see how many were there. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Yes, go ahead, ask your question.
Nidhi, there is, see, whatever fear or whatever anxiety can be manifested in so many ways, correct? The root causes can be 100 things. It could be COVID, it could be family issue, it could be your son's problem or daughter's problem, your office problem, a problem with your spouse, or you have not enough money, not enough comforts. It can be so many things that can create these. What is the bottom line, that one thing that you can tell, okay, this is what will negate all those feelings in whatever form they are? There is a package of solutions for, say, COVID-related thing. There is a package of solutions for money-related thing. A package of solutions for officing. But put together all one place, what is that bottom thing that one can practice? I know it is meditation, yoga, and all those things, yes. Besides that, for practical reasons, you can't be meditating all the time. You're working, you're doing this, you're doing that. But meditation is only for an hour, half an hour in the morning or evening or something like that. But what is that can keep you going the whole day and getting away from these negative thoughts and, you know, all these anxieties and tensions in your day-to-day working life?
I understood your question. The reason why I picked 4 is because I couldn't come up with just one. These are 4 root causes of anxiety. It is fear of losing, relationships I will come into in a bit. We were talking about daughters and sons and stuff. Relationships I will come to in a bit. Doubts, fear of losing, fear of endings, which really is a lot of the fear is because of fear of endings. And so these 4 are the root causes of anxiety. And each of them has to be dealt with slightly differently. And so for fear, and maybe the one with fear, you could say, is an overarching effort you can make.
But the bottom line for all these things,
let me finish. One of the things you said is we can't meditate the whole time. And so in the Brahma Kumaris, we do something called open-eyed meditation. We always do open-eyed meditation. And the reason why we do open-eyed meditation is because we want to bring the meditation into our everyday lives. When I'm working, when I'm talking to people, when I'm interacting with my family, when I am driving on the road, that is when I need meditation, and that's why we do open-eyed meditation. And so, so yes, you can meditate all the time. So that myth has to go that you can't meditate all the time. You can meditate all the time. And the other myth that needs to go is, what is meditation? So meditation is not where you're sitting in a corner and chanting something and going off and blanking your mind. That is not meditation. That's the other myth that needs to go. And so the affirmation I was talking about, I am an eternal soul, I'm a soul, I'm in this body, that meditation, I would include God in it. I'm a child of God. I'm a soul, I'm eternal, I'm a child of God. That can pretty much sum up all your anxieties. But that you have to come to a point of constantly thinking about it all the time. And so what happens is we have doubts about it. Oh, maybe it won't work. Maybe I can't meditate, because we have a lot of false beliefs going on in our heads about what it is. And so, but if you put your heart into it, you put your whole effort into it, I promise you, I guarantee you, there will not be anxiety.
Thank you, Nidhi. As I was talking in between, you said you wanted you to finish, fine. As you say, there are 4 different things, like you said, right? Losing of having something, your family life, or there are 4 things that you mentioned. But underlying base cause for all these things is anxiety or fear or tension, right? It could be in any form, right? Nidhi?
No, that's my answer. If you practice, that's all I can say. Just practice.
Thank you.
Because what happens is anything spiritual. Let's say talking about a soul. I'm a soul. I'm a soul. Growing up in India, guessing by your accent that you grew up in India. Growing up in India, you always hear, oh, you're a soul, you're a soul. But how much do we practice? How much do we actually sit down and really think of ourselves as souls? And so it's not about knowing. To really overcome anxiety, there has to be very deep, intense practice.
Thank you, Didi. Will do. Just one more request, Didi. Actually, I know the class is until 6:30 and then there's meditation. I have a conference to go, Didi. Is it possible for me to have this recording to be sent to my email ID?
Yes, I'm sure they can send it.
Can I add my email ID at the chat box?
Los Angeles, send them an email and they will send it.
Can I add my email ID in the chat box, or should I reply to the mail that I received yesterday regarding this program?
It's better to reply.
You can reply, yeah.
Thank you very much. Sir. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Be safe and stay safe.
So all of you took your 2 minutes to talk about the one transformation you're going to have in your life. And after those 2 minutes, I'll give you 1 more minute. I was going to open it up for other questions, but it has to be a short question. And because there are a lot of people, and so short questions, please.
Sister, may I ask you a question?
Yes.
In your 4 sources of anxiety, where does guilt fit in? Because sometimes we have such preconditioned, misguided guilt as to not to make a certain decision. So where does that guilt fit in?
In relationships.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so have you had this determined thought of what is it that you will transform? Just one small thing. And remember, we all have taken this afternoon, for me it's night, all have taken this afternoon to listen to this, right? I want you to put something up. only get something out of it, not just if you listen to whatever I say and leave it here. You will get something out of it.
It's cutting.
Sister, we can't hear you.
I don't know what's going on. How about now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can only get something if you decide to do something. If you listen, you will not get anything because it'll just be another thing that you listened. And so anxiety is very deep. And for that anxiety to go away, we have to do something. It can't be a fun workshop on a Saturday afternoon. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry to be bearer of bad tidings, but it's not going to happen. You have to implement some changes in your life. And so this is the time where you spend time with yourself. You ask yourself, what is one thing that is preventing me from moving forward? And let me transform that one thing. Okay. So let's move on. Anyone have any more questions?
What about the relationship there was in the list?
I'm coming. Patience.
Okay, thank you.
Patience, sabar karo, patience.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, thank you. First of all, thank you for doing this. I love your breakdown is just amazing and so clear. My question to you is, you mentioned how karma can affect our fear. So could you just briefly tell us an example? For example, if someone has a fear of a loss of a job, yet karma, they're a good person, they're committing good acts, how does that play into that or affect that fear?
Karma is a very, very deep topic. It's a very deep topic. I cannot answer it in one sentence, you know?
Okay.
It really requires a lot of in-depth analysis, karma. But one of the main things that people have is, oh, why do bad things happen to good people? And that is where karma comes in. Also takes into account in so many aspects of our life. We are just looking at one sliver of our life, that is of our existence, but there's so much more to our existence than just this life and this what is going on right now. So I mean, we have a big existence, and there's something that we have to look at the larger picture. And so to be able to look at that picture, it's a deep topic.
Got it. Thank you.
Sister, one question. You talked about fear of end or ending. Isn't that ending fear comes with the sense of responsibility?
You know, for us to really progress in life, progress in our spiritual life, not get a better job. I'm not talking about that. Really progress in our spiritual life where we feel like we are gaining something in spiritual life. We have to have, I use the word balance, but I also like to use the word integration of two qualities, always. Life, the laboratory of life is about integrating two opposing qualities. And that is what is balance. You have to balance between two positive qualities. It's not about doing and not doing, but two positive qualities. So let's take responsibility. right? And this is what happens in life. You have responsibility. Yes, you should have responsibility, but there should be another quality that you have to take into consideration, and that is that you have to, that things are not in your control, that there is a drama, there is a cosmic play going on, and things are not in your control. So one aspect is, yes, you have a responsibility and we have to take personal responsibility, but the other aspect is I have to let go at some point because things are not in my control.
Thank you, sister.
Okay, the doubt virus, right? So doubt really is like a virus. Doubt arrives and there's so many germs come with it, confusion, anxiety, and everything, and it just keeps spreading. And so how do you get rid of the virus? How do you get rid of the virus? This is very important aspect, is the company we keep, not just the physical company we keep, but mentally, what am I thinking about? What are my input? How much YouTube video am I watching? How much TV am I watching? How much whatever Netflix am I watching? All of that is the company I keep. And so if I don't spend part of my day in acquiring new thoughts, in acquiring elevated thoughts and acquiring eternal knowledge, then doubt will always be there. If I don't spend part of my life in deep self-transformation, deep self-introspection, then doubt will be there. And so this is very important, this aspect of good company, but not just physical good company. All company is, how am I spending my time? Where are my thoughts? And because doubt really causes defeat. The next one is resistance. And so what I've noticed that is the root cause of all resistance is desires and expectations. And what happens is we fight with what is. If something is, no, we keep fighting internally, we keep fighting. And because of that fighting, that if something is like this, right? If I keep fighting, then there is insecurity, then there is fear, then there's anxiety, then all of that happens is because I am resisting. And so one of the things you have to understand is the things are happening. Let's take COVID situation. Things are happening. If I resist, if I fight, this is happening, that is happening, this shouldn't have happened, that shouldn't have happened. Can any of us control what's happening with COVID? The answer is no. We can control what we do, but we can't control what's happening with COVID. The general, you know, what's happening in LA, who can control what's happening in LA? You can control what's happening in your life. And so, but we have an expectation. We have an expectation, no, it shouldn't happen this way. It should have happened this way. And this one should have done this. And, you know, whoever that guy is in the White House should have done that and all of that, right? And so if we keep thinking like that, we are fighting with what is. This is what it is. And so if you notice anything in your life, when you fight with what is, that is when you are resisting, and that is when you are really blocking the energy of movement, the energy of just you flowing, right? You're blocking it because you're resisting. And so let's say there's a river flowing, right? And you block the water. What happens? It stagnates. And so when we resist, even our life stagnates. And so the most important thing about resistance is you have to accept, you have to flow. Whatever is happening, you have to flow with it because none of us have control over what is happening. And so you have to keep flowing with it. And so the reason why, of course, is we think this is safe. You know, if we resist, you know, if we protect what brings us safety, you know, and we keep negotiating, oh, if this happens, maybe I can do this. And if that happens, I will do this. And we negotiate with, you know, the cosmic play. We negotiate with God. Maybe if you give me this, and I can do this. And all of those things start happening. And so all of that really is resistance. And for resistance to really work, we have to understand acceptance. And so the path of non-resistance is we accept unconditionally others, and we allow them to be whoever they are, right? You just allow people to be who they are. You don't resist, you don't think they have to change and they have to do this and that has to happen. And that is with people. And the other thing is you have to surrender. You have to surrender to situations. Don't hold on and think, no, it should happen this way. Just surrender, let it go. And that is the path of non-resistance. And you will see, I want you to just take 2 or 3 days in your life and try out this path of non-resistance, where you are accepting anything and everyone unconditionally, and you're surrendering to what is. You're not trying to change what is. And so it's a big act of charity when we accept people unconditionally. It's a really big act of charity because it really gives them freedom. It gives us freedom. And you know, that whatever happens, that it gives them freedom, but more importantly, it gives us freedom. And so it's very, very important to understand this path of non-resistance. And so this path of non-resistance can really only be understood by doing. And so I want you to take out 2 or 3 days, the next 2-3 days, and really work out a path of non-resistance. Just for the next few days, just work out a path of non-resistance. Where everything is unconditionally you accept, and whatever happens, you just surrender and say, it's okay, that is what it is. You don't create a story around it, which is a really horrible thing to do, but that's what we do. We create a story, then we create meaning, and we think, oh, what does it mean about myself? Then we take all kinds of values out of it. We do all of those things. Just surrender and say, you know, whatever happens has nothing to do with me. It doesn't mean anything about me. And I'm here to accept everyone unconditionally. So let's say in Florida, we here in Florida get a lot of hurricanes. And so these hurricanes, if a hurricane is coming, apparently there is, I haven't looked, but there are a couple of hurricanes coming this way, I heard. And I think, oh my God, the hurricane is coming this way. It's all my fault. Why, how come the hurricane is coming this way? I did something and that's why it's coming this way. Does it make sense if I think that? It doesn't, does it? Because the weather has nothing to do with me. The weather is happening. And I feel that is what is in our life also. What other people are doing, what's happening with COVID, what's happening here, it has nothing to do with us. We shouldn't take it personally. Don't create a story out of it. It is what it is. We shouldn't take any kind of investment. You know, we shouldn't be invested. Things should go this way, or if it doesn't go this way, it means horrible things about me. No, it's just, that's just the way the play is written. When you look at a movie, right? Are you sitting down and thinking, hey, you actor, how come this happened and that happened? And maybe this actor did this way because of me. No, you have to look at the whole thing as a movie and say, this has nothing to do with me. And that is the path of non-resistance, or the path of acceptance. Any questions here? So one of the things is, Shakespeare said all the world's a stage, right? And all the men and women merely players. That's a very profound statement, because it really is like that. Think of yourself as an actor in a grand epic movie going on all over the world. The movie involves all of the actors, all of the people in the world are actors, and you're one of the actors, right? And there is the play is going on. And so you accept the play, you accept the actors, you accept everything that is happening. And you accept where we are at in the play. Okay, this is the time of COVID, this is the time of a pandemic. That's just the way it is. Let's accept it. And so you keep accepting. And then eventually you will understand how deeply anxiety is connected with resistance. Once you start accepting, once you start unconditionally saying, it's okay, I accept, I accept, I accept. And you realize how much negativity happens because we are not accepting. And so,
question, if we accept everything, then where is the room for progress? And second question is, like you were saying, this is a drama, okay? But do we not want to get a newer role or important role also? Or we just should be satisfied by accepting the role which the director has given to us? Over.
There's several questions in your question, actually.
Thank you.
The first part of the question you asked is, where is progress if I keep accepting? And that I want to understand. I want us to redefine what progress is. What is progress? So I can live in a bigger house, I can get 2 cars, I can get 1 more wife. Is that progress? If I can get a better job, so I can get all of this. Is that progress? Or true spiritual progress, where the soul is being fulfilled? Is that progress? It's a question you have to ask yourself. It's a question, what is success? That you have to answer for yourself. The other question you were talking about is role, right? All of us have an important role. If I am not satisfied with the role that I have right now, as Shireen, right? I have a role as Shireen, I'm playing my role. If I am not satisfied with this, and if I don't make the best of what role I have, what makes me think that I'm going to be happy with the next role? This is a habit of dissatisfaction. Something is better somewhere, more. It's a habit. There is no more out there. Everything you need can be available. All of the beautiful experiences, being eternal, being immortal, those are beautiful, powerful experiences. Those experiences can be had right now, right here with your current role. Why would you want another role? Because if I'm not satisfied with what I have, what makes me think I'll be satisfied with the next one? Is that a little too hard? Contentment is very important. Being content, because Everything we have is available to us. All I have to do is make a little effort. Because right now, all that is left is deep experiences. Deep experiences of the self as an eternal being, deep experiences of God. That is what is left. And that can happen in this role right now, and that can definitely happen when we do acceptance. Any other questions? Did that answer your question, brother?
Yes, to a certain degree. Thank you.
So relationships. And so relationships, I don't have to tell you about relationships. I'm sure all of you can give me a whole course on relationships, but it brings a lot of anxiety because of rejection, anger, violence, etc. And so, you know, the National Enquirer, those gossip magazines, when you're checking out in a grocery line, you have those gossip magazines and they say, oh, this happened and that person happened in that life and this happened. It's totally skewed of what happens, right? It's a skewed vision of people and perception and what actually is happening in people's lives. And also there's so much thinking about someone else, and that's what we do with our own mind. We make it into a National Enquirer. We have a very skewed vision of people. We have a very, you know, oh, that person is this way and this person is that way. And then we think too much, you know, we think about, oh, why did they do this and they should have done that and all of those things. And so if we want to have successful relationships, then the first thing I have to do is I have to have a relationship with myself. That's absolutely essential. And so in the relationship with the self, there are three aspects to the relationship with the self, which I will get into. But if I want to have good relationship, if I want to reduce my anxiety in relationship, the most important thing you can do is have a relationship with the self. And so one of the ways that we mess up relationship is we keep looking at people's mistakes. We keep looking at their weaknesses. We keep looking at their defects. And so then we don't see the positive aspects of who they are because it's very skewed, right? And that's where anxiety begins. And so for relationships, not only should I have a relationship with the self, but the other thing I should do is I should have a determined thought that I am not going to look at anyone's weaknesses or defects. Every soul in my life, if you have that determined thought right now, every soul in my life, every relationship in my life, I will only look at their good qualities. If I have that determined thought, then you will not have anxiety in relationships. And so this relationship with the self, there are three things about relationship with the self. And so one of the things we have to notice is how much time am I spending with myself? Because if you really think about it, the maximum amount of time you spend in your life is with yourself. Even if you have a life partner, the main life partner, the first life partner is yourself, because the maximum amount of time you spend is with yourself. And so in that time of spending with myself, how much am I really paying attention to myself? How much am I saying, you know, what is it I want? What are my desires? What is my anxiety? It's not just, most of the world right now is hydroplaning. You know what hydroplaning is? The car is skidding and going at such a fast speed that you don't have any chance to go deep. So you need to take a chill pill, you need to be quiet, and you need to really spend time with the self, with the original self. Not, oh, I like pineapple on my pizza and I don't like this. Not that. Not those kinds of likes and dislikes, but you really spend time with the self and see your eternal self. See yourself as the driver of this car. See yourself as the thinking, feeling being in this body. And what are my thoughts? What are my feelings? That, and the other one is your conversation is not about, oh, I'm going to say this to this one and I'm going to do this to that one. That is not your conversation, shouldn't be your conversation. And then you have a conversation with yourself and you treat yourself as you would a precious child. As you are a precious child and you have to talk to yourself that way, I'm a precious child. And so when you have this awareness of yourself as an eternal soul, that creates those pure thoughts. Those pure thoughts will cut anxiety. And every time I think of someone, it should only be a blessing. And like I said, this is a guarantee. You take this step of courage. Every time you think of someone, you just send them a blessing. I guarantee you, you will not have anxiety. And so to recap, I've given you several steps of courage that you can take to overcome anxiety. And so now the ball is in your court. The choice is yours. If you take one step of courage, remember you will get 1,000-fold help. If you take half a step, you will get 500-fold help. If you take 1/4 step, you will get 250 steps of help. And if you don't take any step, if you don't do any of these things, then you will be left with your anxiety. But if you want something, then you have to take that step of courage. So that, my dear friends, my dear brothers and sisters, is my 2 cents on anxiety. So any questions, any comments before we start the meditation at 9:30?
I have a comment on doubt. Don't you know, a lot of time, like when I was young, I'm doubtful, but now when you look back at it, I think when we don't know our own limitations, or in some areas maybe we are not competent enough and try to do something, that creates a doubt in your mind for your own ability or self-esteem. Is that true?
Yeah, we don't know ourselves very well, yes.
Thank you, sister, for your time.
So tell me, any questions?
I think you have given all of us a lot to churn about and think about. So thank you very much, sister.
Also, lots of tips to handle anxiety. So many answers. Very nice. Thank you.
And so all of you are going to have meditation from now till an hour. And since I'm in Florida, it's 9:30 for me almost, and it's coming to my bedtime. So I would like to take leave. And if you don't have any questions or comments, I still have a few minutes. We still have a few minutes before the meditation starts, or we can start the meditation early if you don't have any questions or comments.
Thank you so much, Om Santi, sister.
Thank you, Sister. Om Shanti.